Welcome to the Higher Level Podcast. Today we are going to talk with Miss Kristin Salais about finding annuity money, and she's been finding a lot of it. If you could take a moment, please, and like, comment, and share this video on YouTube, and please invite others. And then if you could go to all of the FFL national social media platforms and please subscribe to all of our channels that we're part of, that would be great. I greatly appreciate it. So what we're going to talk about today is we want to show and teach everyone within the agency and anyone else that we can help how to find money at a high level, because we have someone who is in our agency right now, and I think she paid just annuity volume alone over $3 million. I saw the other day she inked an annuity for $1.5 million. And she has like 12 annuities that are pending. She has a goal this year to be number one in all of Family First Life. And I think just in annuity volume alone, her goal is to write over $10 million in annuities. And I tell you what, the path that she's on, there's absolutely no reason that she will not be able to do it. In addition to the amount of annuity volume that she's written, she's also building an agency, and she's doing that because she is producing at such a high level. Not only does she produce, and she was a Hall of Fame producer last year, but she produces at a very high level, life insurance-wise and annuity volume-wise. So she definitely has what it takes to be able to come on here and teach everyone how to find money and then how to close annuities. So, Kristin Salais, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's been absolutely phenomenal watching what you've been doing. I swear you are inking and closing annuities like they're Americo Eagle policies, right?
I am inking and closing a lot of them, yes.
I mean, it's incredible. And I think what it probably came down to is just a mindset, because I've talked to you before and you kind of said, annuities are difficult. I don't understand it. But now all of a sudden you grabbed a hold of them and you're inking them left and right. Every single day you go out in the field.
Yeah. So I think what changed for me is when I went to conference this February, I was talking with a lot of the, like a lot of our colleagues. So I was talking to David Pyle and just different people backstage, and they were just talking about like annuities, and they were asking me about like mortgage protection because, I'm pretty good at, helping families with that. And so I really never I had written a few annuities, but I really wasn't really clear on what it was doing and what it really could do for the client. And it even though the money is amazing, really what it comes down to is the products are amazing. So Athene, with the carrier that I write with, it makes it very, very easy to help people just because of how amazing their products are. And I think once you get a better understanding of the product, of what they can provide the client, and then looking at the client's overall situation and what they're trying to accomplish, it's very easy then to help place them in that, because the products that Athene has is, that awesome.
Well, let's do this. Let's do step one. We're going to make it easy. So anyone who hasn't written annuity, let's make it easy. Let's start with your in-home presentation, and let's start with first finding the money, how you find the money, the questions that you ask, and how anyone who hasn't written annuity, how on their next appointment, how they can go out and find money and start writing annuities. So let's do that. Let's make it easy. Let's start out with your in-home presentation. Exactly how does that take place, and how do you find the money?
Sure. So first and foremost, I just have direct mail or final expense leads that I run. I'm not running annuity appointments at all. So someone had asked me about that. But when I go into the home, I ask them what their overall objective is. I want to know from the start what they currently have in place. What are they trying to accomplish, and what do they feel like that they have already? What it is accomplishing for them and what it isn't accomplishing for them. And I want them to tell me what that looks like. I also want to let them know from the start, when I come in with the paper printed out that they had filled out and mailed in, and I show that to them, I let them know just a little bit that, from the start, I used to just dive right in and go for it. But I say, hey, I just want to, again, let you know that my name's Kristin Salais, and I was the person that was assigned to help you today. And what we're going to do today is look at your overall situation and take into account what you already have in place, what you don't have, and what your objective is overall. And that way I can help you to the best of my ability and serve you to help you protect whatever it is that you need to be protected. I specialize in retirement protection, mortgage protection, and final expense coverage. So we're going to evaluate all of those things as a whole today and go from there. And a lot of times they say to me, well, what does one have to do with the other? And I said, actually, everything.
So step one, before you even begin the in-home, you do have like an opening statement, kind of why you're there, who you are, and the questions you're going to ask. Is that right?
Correct. And I didn't do that before. Before, when I first went in, I just looked at, handed them the paper, and I would say, hey, this is Kristin, like I just, this is the paper that you have filled out. And go right into it. Do you currently have mortgage protection? Do you not? What are you trying to protect? Or do you have final expense coverage? Or do you not? And then go right into it that way. I totally changed my perspective and the way that I approached the client. And the reason why I did that is just from going through obstacles that when I was finding annuity money by just asking, what else do you have that would act like life insurance, and then go to ask for the statements, they would look at me like, what? Like, I don't even know you. Why are you asking me for this information? So now when I go into it and I actually give just a little small, brief synopsis of who I am and what I specialize in, then they have a better understanding and they're not alarmed on why I'm asking for those statements and why it all ties in together.
I agree with you too, because now this year I've closed 15 annuities myself. It's only $1 million. It's not where you are. But the thing that changed this year for me as well is the opening statement. I kind of let them know who I am, what the questions I'm going to ask.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that does make a big difference. That way it opens it up. So when you do ask questions, people don't think that you're just kind of being nosy or whatever.
Sure.
So that was the one big change that you made was doing that. All right, so now go through, after you lay that out, then another question. Do you use the financial worksheet?
If I'm being honest, I really don't right now. But wait a minute. I do, because I already know that.
But you're asking all the questions that are on
I'm asking all the questions that are on it because Perfect. I've been doing it for so long. But if I was just starting out, then I would 100% be putting that client worksheet in front of me, because there's a reason and order why we ask certain questions and when. And what that client worksheet does is keeps you organized and makes you to remind you and not forget to ask a certain question and when. And I think that's really important in the beginning.
Let's do this for a new person. Let's pretend you and I are in an appointment. You're meeting with a single guy, and let's do an appointment. That way people can understand and hear exactly how you do it, the questions that you ask, and how you find the money.
Sure.
So let's do it.
Okay. So, hi, Mike. I'm Kristin Salais. I just want to let you know. So this is the paper that you had filled out and mailed back into our office. And so I was the person that was assigned to help you today. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at your overall objective and what you're trying to accomplish, what you want to protect, what's the most important thing for you, for your family, what would give you the biggest peace of mind. We're going to look together to see what you already have in place, what that's doing for you and not doing for you. And then we're also going to just take a total look at your overall objective to see where you want to go. And so what I personally do is I specialize in retirement protection, mortgage protection, and final expense coverage, and all of those ties in together. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at all the things that you have and what you're trying to accomplish and go from there. Okay? So in the event that your biggest thing right now is protecting the loan, so what do you currently have now? Do you have any life insurance? Do you have mortgage protection? Do you have final expense coverage? What are all the things that you have in place right now that if something happened that you would feel comfortable with protecting your family?
Right now I have a $50,000 policy at work.
Okay, great. And so that's awesome. I usually tell people that if they have, policies at work, that's like a cherry on top, because a lot of times they don't carry over with you, or if they do, you're at age of health at the time of retiring. So I always just use that as like a cherry on top. So now we need to evaluate. So you currently own a home. There's no right or wrong answer, but would you want to stay in your home if something happened to you? Would you not? Or would you just want to protect the equity in the event of something happening?
What do you mean by something happening? If I die?
If you die, or if you got critically ill, anything like that.
Well, if I died, I'd want the home to be left to my kids. If I'm critically ill, obviously I'd like to try to keep my house. That's why I filled this out.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're going to look at that now. And so right now you don't have anything in place that can do that. Again, that cherry on top is through work, but we're not going to bank on that because we don't know how long you're going to live. So now what else do you have that would come into play that would help you in the event of something happening tomorrow? What else do you have that would help take care of that loan for you?
What do you mean by that?
Meaning, do you have any 401ks, like old 401ks, mutual funds, IRAs, Roths, stocks, bonds? What do you have in place?
I have an old 401k. I think there's about 150,000 in there.
Okay, great. Okay, and so how long ago did you work with that employer?
I left that job like 2 years ago.
Okay, so why haven't you moved the money, if you don't mind me asking?
I didn't know. I didn't know anything about it.
Okay, great. So that's awesome. I'm really glad that we're evaluating that. So the fact that you have that money, it's sitting there. Do you happen to have your statement? Because we really need to know what that money is doing for you. And there's a reason for that. We want to see if that money, if we could put you into something that could possibly get you where you want to go. Besides also still navigating through to see if you need mortgage protection as well to kind of, piggyback each other to help protect you at the highest level. So we need to see your statement to see what the investment portfolio looks like, what the caps on your gains is, how much risk potential that you have, like how much loss that you would have in that portfolio to see how much you would lose on the downside of the market, things like that. So we need to kind of look through that. So do you have your statement with you?
So you immediately jump right into the annuity. You don't continue with the insurance appointment. You go right into the annuity.
So if they say that they have the money that's in an old 401k, I want to see those statements right away. I don't wait for that only because it does tie into what we're trying to accomplish. And then once I get that statement, I kind of put it to the side a second and say, okay, so now that I have the statement, we're going to look at this in a second to see what it's actually doing for you. But we already know that you have this money. So now we need to see, besides this, in the event that something happening, what do you want this money to do? Do you want to live on this money? Do you want this? What do you want it to do?
Let's say I'm a 50-year-old male and I tell you, yes, I'm 50. I'm going to retire at 65. I want to live on that 150,000.
Okay, great. But in the event of something happening to you, would you want to use that money to pay your house off or no?
I would not.
Okay, so most people wouldn't. And if you say that you did, then what we need to then evaluate is, do you have a pension or Social Security? And would that be enough for you to live on if you take all of your retirement money that you had in that old 401k to be able to do that? Because otherwise you're going to be living on ramen noodles. So we need to really make sure that, you understand fully that that's not what that money's for. If you need to live on that income besides whatever pension and Social Security that you're going to get if you get a pension, we need to really understand what you need that money to do for you, besides also reaching that objective to make sure that your house is covered. So if you don't want to use that for that and you need that money to live on, then we definitely need to get mortgage protection in place, because if something happened to you tomorrow, we need to make sure that your family is protected as well.
Got it.
Would you agree?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And so let's say the opposite. The guy says he doesn't want to live on it. It's just there to grow. How would you handle that situation?
Okay, so say perfect, so great. So in that event, what is the objective though still? So you want the money to grow, but for what? What are you getting? What is the objective for that?
It's for me to leave behind to my loved ones.
Okay, great. All right, so that's awesome. Besides that money growing and leaving behind to your loved ones, would you want to leave your house, the equity that you have created in your house, to your loved ones as well?
Yes, I would.
Okay, great. So now we have also now a better understanding on what he's trying to do. Mm-hmm. So I want you to tell me now, you have this old 401k money, this investment portfolio. Right now, how is that money getting you where it is? How is that getting you to meet that goal?
Man, these are tough questions. You asked us, and then most of them got to say, I don't know, right?
Right. And if they have a financial advisor, let's say it's not in a 401k, why don't you know those questions if that financial advisor is helping advise you on what that money is trying to get you to your goal? So if you don't know the answer to those questions, that's a bit concerning. Not saying that financial advisor is bad. He obviously has done a pretty good pretty good job up until this point, because your money has grown, but now your objective has changed a bit, right? So does the vehicle. And that's not disrespectful to the financial advisor. They just don't have the same kind of products that they can help you with meet those goals now at this time, right? And if you don't know the answer to what that money is doing for you right now, then it is a little disappointing. Would you agree that you don't know the answers to that question, that you don't know what the cap of your gain is, how much risk potential loss, like what is in your portfolio? I mean, you don't have to understand it per se. A lot of people don't, but don't you think you should know the answer to those questions if they're advising you?
You've got to be creating a lot of doubt. when you start asking and saying these things, it's immediately creating doubt and making them second guess themselves. It's got to. That's why you're finding so much money. That right there is huge. How'd you come up with those questions that you're asking?
Common sense.
Well, I mean, everyone doesn't know it. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, for me, like it was just being a bit creative and just figuring out a way to like make people understand that, that there are better things for them, but also getting them to understand that what they're in wasn't bad. People don't like to feel like what they've been doing is bad. People don't like to feel if they have a great relationship with a financial advisor that they were bad people or that they were bad. You're never going to gain someone's trust that way. So you have to make people feel good about what they have, that you've done a very good job with building that money there and, you know, getting it to do what it needs to do. But also at the same time, you know, your objective is different now, and that's okay.
So let's go through those questions again. What are you asked? What you say? What are the caps? What are the downside risks? Say those
right.
questions.
So
again.
in the so on your statement, so with that 401k, what is that 401k doing for you right now to meet your goal? So you told me that you want money to grow, right? Exponentially, you want to leave that behind to your children. And you also want, you know, to protect your house and the equity, because you also want that to be left behind as well, because that's what you're working hard for every day, right? So how is that money meeting your goal? And right now you have no other insurance, so I can't ask you how that will meet your goal, because if they actually had already insurance, I want to see their statements, and I want them to tell me how that money, how that insurance policy is meeting that goal that they're trying to accomplish.
I love it. I think right now, and some of the training that I've done, I tell people that when you don't do a complete financial inventory and you don't realize, like that guy right there has $150,000 and you don't know everything about their financial picture because you didn't do a complete financial inventory, those are the times when people tell you, I want to think about it, because they want you to leave and they may call someone or ask their significant other. They'll say, do you really think I need this insurance? The house is $200,000. I have $150 in an old 401k. I have $50,000 at work. And they'll say, if I die tomorrow, you'll get the $150 from the old 401k and you'll get the $50,000 from work. That's $200,000. And then their spouse says, no, you don't need any insurance. See, but because you didn't do a complete financial inventory and you didn't know all that stuff, then you end up losing out. And that's when people are getting, I want to think about it. It's because they don't know everything. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. And then also too, like, it's so important for you to get them to tell you what it is it's doing for them now. Like a lot of times when people have doubt, they like to just stick with what they have. That's right. What you get what I think about it. But if you get them to tell you what it's doing for them, and most people don't know, then you can't get the I think about it as I'm going to just stay with what I have, because the truth of the matter is they don't know what they have and they don't know what it's doing for them. So you have to be able to get them to tell you that. And so then that way they're like, oh boy, well, how do I know that a mutual fund is good for me if I really don't know what it's doing for me? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So you're going to take that away. And then without them realizing it, you're not trying to put, you know, a bad taste in their mouth about a financial advisor, because there are financial advisors that are awesome. And maybe they were up until that point. But if you don't know what it is it's doing for you, and you don't understand how to read that statement when you get an annual statement, well, you are paying them monthly and annually to advise you. So if you don't even know how to read the statement, then I'm not really so sure how they're advising you on what your money's doing.
Strong. Unbelievable. That right there. I had some agent call me the other day, and they were asking me about going up against a financial advisor. And the way I explained it to the agent, and I don't know if you do this as well, but I said the advisor and us, we do two totally separate things. A financial advisor is there for the accumulation phase of your life, and you're accumulating your wealth. And then once you've accumulated that wealth and you want to draw it down without any losses or any risk, that's where we step in. We step in the decumulation phase or the preservation phase of a person's life, while they're, building and then drawing down this money.
Right.
So when they called me and asked me, that's kind of the way that I explain it. I love the way that you talk about it. And I agree with you too. You never want to make anyone feel bad about any decisions that they make. So you never want to put down their financial advisor. Just like when you're selling life insurance, you never want to put down the other company. I always feel like if you put them down based off the decision that they made, then once you go to present your decision to them, that they're going to second guess themselves and say, I already made one mistake, I don't want to make another one.
100%. And so what I also actually even do is the opposite. I actually, if they already have a financial advisor and they have a great relationship with them or a CPA, I encourage them to not share what I have to offer them, but I want them to go to them and ask what they can offer them for their new objective. And the truth of the matter is they can't, because they don't get paid on a fixed indexed annuity. They can't. And so that brings up another topic. I do have people ask me that all the time. Well, how do you get paid? And my answer to that question is we get paid on protecting people's retirement, not off of it. Not off of their money. And that's just the truth, because in the event down a downside market, they're still going to get paid because you're still paying fees, which pays them. So that is how they get paid, right? We don't gain or lose from that. We only get paid by protecting the retirement, but it's not off of their principal. It isn't. It's the company. So there's a big difference with that. And in the scheme of things, yes, you and I know like the magnitude, but if you actually said, well, it's a small percentage, it really is. We're not getting paid 50%. We're getting paid 6 to 7 to 8%. In the magnitude, it's actually small. So it's fair to say we get paid off of a small percentage by protecting your retirement, but not off of your retirement money. And I think that's really important for them to understand that. So I don't gain anything by putting you into something that wouldn't benefit you or not benefit you. A financial advisor who didn't even go over their entire statement with them, and I present it in like a questionable way, like I'm not putting them down, but I am by just the way I'm asking the question. But then when I get down to the part where they get paid, they get paid on the fees every single month or whatever, even when you're in the downside of the market. So even when you're in a loss, they're still going to get paid. And they're being paid to financially advise and take care of your money. And so if you're at a position right now where you say, hey, Kristin, I can't afford that anymore. I can't afford to take that risk anymore, but I still need my money to grow exponentially or be able to have guaranteed lifetime income on it, then you're not in the right vehicle anymore, right? So then another objective that I'll get and that I overcome all the time is they'll say to me, well, how come if this is so good, how can they afford to do that? How can these companies do that if this is so good? So I use the example of a cell phone all the time. So I say in the 1980s, we had a flip phone. We were so excited about the flip phone. I specifically used my best friend's wedding movie where she's driving the bread van and she's got this massive big flip phone. And we thought this was the best thing ever. Did it work? It worked. It did its job. You were able to call people. Now fast forward to 2021. Look at what a phone can do now as opposed to what it could do in 1980. It's the same thing with investment companies. They've evolved tremendously through time. It's not that those other vehicles still can't currently work. They can. That flip phone can still work. But other investment companies and different products and vehicles, now look what they can do in 2021. They can't do the same thing. And they're not supposed to. If we did, we should be really worried that we're not evolving.
I agree. The way that you're explaining all this, you don't have a very complicated presentation. I mean, you just simply, your whole presentation is just really asking questions and almost just creating doubt. And because they don't know the answers to your very simple questions, it makes them start questioning what they're doing. Would you agree? Is that basically all that you're doing?
Yeah, 100%.
Do you always, or how do you decide whether you're going to do a fixed index or you're going to use a fixed index with the guaranteed payout? How do you decide which type of annuity you're going to do?
So it just depends on what their objective is. If somebody said to me, for example, I sat with someone and they said, I am eventually going to need to live on this money. And I would say, well, what's eventually? What's a time frame that you think reasonably, where you have to be reasonable here? What do you think would be a reasonable time frame that you're going to need that guaranteed income on? And if they say, well, I really don't know, well, then you have to put them into the Ascent product, because you can turn that guaranteed lifetime income rider on at any time. If someone says to me, well, I don't need to live on this money, I just need to let it grow exponentially, well, then you already know that you need to put them in the Performance Elite, right? Because that's what it's going to do. If someone doesn't need to live on money for 10 years, but in 10 years, they're probably going to need to live on that money, then Agility is the perfect product, because with the Agility product, after 10 years, they can turn on that guaranteed lifetime income rider. And as the market goes up, so does the income. So it's just knowing those things and then knowing what product to put them in.
And people hear you spouting all this stuff out, and I know it sounds overwhelming, but I know it wasn't this way in the beginning. It's because you've done it over and over and over again. So don't think you can't do this because you hear the way that Kristin speaks, right? The first one, I'm sure you weren't talking the same way, but it's each annuity that you do, you get more and more confidence because you learn more each time that you go through it. So I would imagine the first time you did find money, you sent it over to Ask a Specialist, and they drew something up and sent it to you, but then you had questions, you called them, they explained it to you, and you were that much more educated for the next appointment.
Absolutely. So Lauren Jackson is absolutely amazing, and I send her to this day all of my applications for her to scrub them and to help me, because I'm still navigating as I'm going through, and still learning a lot of things as I'm going through. And that's how, you learn. As far as the products itself, I actually would just call Athene and just say, hey, listen, I have a person at this age point, and this is their goal. What product would be the best product and why? And then have them sit with me on the phone and help me. They can actually go on your home screen with you, and they can show you how to run an illustration and explain the illustration. I do that all the time.
And that's call the carrier, call Athene.
Yes.
Right? Same way with insurance. You learn more by calling the carriers. They're more than happy to explain these things to you.
Yes.
And you get better each time you do it. Any parting shots for everyone out there who hasn't written annuity, that everyone should be writing annuities? What recommendation would you give everyone?
So I think the biggest thing is, number one, don't go out looking for the money. I think that that's a big mistake that people have, is they go out looking for money. If you don't look for the money, ironically, it just comes. We are literally just there to help families, and we're just looking at everyone's overall objective. The more that you look at the overall objective and helping them accomplish that goal, the more you're going to find the money without even realizing that you're going to find the money. And there has been times that I've asked people outright if they've had old 401ks, IRAs, things like that, and people lie because they're still trying to find a comfort with you. So the more you just stick to that overall goal, later on in the conversation, you'll set a client, that the one that I just wrote the $109,000 annuity, she goes, oh, well, I forgot to tell you that I do have a Wells Fargo account for $60,000 of that, but I just didn't want to tell you right away. Yeah. They're still trying to feel you out to see kind of what your plan is. I had the one that I wrote, that $60,000 annuity. They told me no, they didn't have anything. And then through the conversation, they really could feel my passion, and that I was genuinely trying to help them. Then they actually called it pockets. They were like, well, we have pockets of money in different places. I was like, pockets? Well, let's evaluate these pockets, because we need to know this. And that's how that happened. So I think it's not looking for the money, just sticking to like helping families, and that will come. And then also understanding, just like anything else, it's a numbers game. Even if you ink them, there's not going to be as much of a fall off as, like, there's always a portion with life insurance. But once you ink them, doesn't mean that it's a done deal, right? There is a lot of hand holding. It's actually the complete opposite of life insurance. I go back every single week with my clients that I have not actually received the funds from until we receive those funds. This is a process, and I literally explain that to them. We're friends for a long time. Absolutely. So we're going to be meeting consistently.
I tell people this: when you go out and you just go out and you're trying to help a family, and once you find that there's a problem, we just use annuities as a solution. We're not going out to write annuities. If the annuity provides the solution to their problem, then that's what you do. Some people need the life insurance and not an annuity, or can't do an annuity. Some people need both. Some people, the annuity makes sense if they have some health challenges and can't get any life insurance, but they have a bunch of money in an old account. The annuity is used to satisfy or solve the problem that that person has. So
yes,
go out and do it that way. Go out just to solve problems, not to go out to make money.
correct.
And
People can feel
seems
that.
like that's when things
And they
get
were,
happen for
they're
us.
definitely going to feel, they're going to feed off of you.
Absolutely.
If you look uncomfortable, they're going to be uncomfortable. If you look like you have doubt, they're going to have doubt. I mean, there are so many things that I don't know, and there's so many things that I'm going to get better at. And if for some reason I still don't know something, I do say to them, give me 1 second. I'm going to give the product specialist a call because I want to be 100% sure on what it is that I'm going to, help you out with. I am a specialist in this department, but this is their expert. They are experts. And so I'm going to ask the expert to make sure that I'm 100% accurate, because I never want even a 1% doubt of what we're doing. So I just want to make sure that I get some clarification so I can help you to my best of my ability. They appreciate that more than if you look, kind of unclear or uncertain and things like that. And they feed off of you. If they see that I'm passionate and I'm genuine, then they're going to receive that. And then they're going to be passionate about it too.
I appreciate it. Kristin, it was great talking to you. Keep killing it like you've been doing. You've been writing. I mean, you're writing annuities left and right. It's crazy.
Yep.
And you're building a team. So you got a lot of great stuff going on. So I appreciate you talking to and training everyone today on how to write more annuities. Thank you.
Anytime. Thank you for having me.